TCP/IP model. Okay, so actually what happened, Department of Defense USA, they created this model, TCP/IP model. So what they did, these can we see these three layers, the upper layers of the OSI model. This is your OSI model. So these layers, application layer, presentation layer, and session layer, so they are merged and they become one layer, that is process or application layer in TCP/IP model. This one is your TCP/IP model. So we can say that the TCP/IP model is the condensed version of the OSI model. Okay, so what happened, these three layers, they in TCP/IP model we combined these three layers, the functionalities of these three layers. The application layer, we know it provides the interface. The presentation layer, which is all about the syntax and semantics of your data, and like your encryption, your compression, you know, so translation. So these were the jobs of the presentation layer. And the session layer, it was the dialog controller, synchronize, it established a dialogue between two systems. So all these functionalities of these three upper layers of OSI, they merged and they become only one layer, that is known as process application layer. Okay, in TCP/IP model. So this is one layer. So in this way, the transport layer. So as we know, transport layer, the segments and the port addressing, if you remember. So this layer, transport layer, is known as host to host layer. Okay, so as we already discussed that if we have two networks, Graphic Era network and Graphic Era University network and IIT Delhi's network. So if one system is sending mail, so that mail will go to my router of Graphic Era University, and after that, that router will establish a connection, or it will send that packets or segments to IIT Delhi's network. Okay, and between these two networks, which protocol will work? The IP, Internet Protocol, which worked at this network layer. Okay, so once it reached IIT Delhi network, then IIT Delhi inside that network, they will be having different departments: management department, computer science department, mechanical. There are so many departments. So that email will go to that specific department and to specific system, and that will be done by the MAC address. And once the segment reached that system, okay, and after that, on that system, on that computer, let us suppose 5 programs are open, 5 different applications are open. So which application should receive that email? The one which is open in browser, in email only. Okay, so that is host to host delivery or port addressing. Okay, so that is why it is known as host to host layer here. Okay, because from application to application, from process to process, we are delivering our segments. So that is why it is known as host to host. Okay, then after that, we have the third layer is internet. So in TCP/IP model, network layer is known as internet layer. Okay, so why internet? Because we know at the network layer, which device we were using. If you remember, we were using router here. Okay, and why we use routers? Router is used to connect two different networks. Okay, and when two or more than two different networks they connect, then they become internet. Okay, so to become an internet, so we need a router in between. If router will not be there, we cannot connect two different networks. Okay, so when we connect two different networks, okay, they become internet. It becomes internet because two different networks are in connection, and each network can have n number of nodes, many nodes, as many. Okay, so but to connect those two different networks, Graphic Era University network and IIT Delhi network. These two different networks. So router is required. So when they will be in connection, it will be called internet. So that is why here it is known as internet layer. Okay, and here process to process delivery, it is why host to host. Okay, now after that the last two layers, data link layer and physical layer, the bottom layers of these two bottom layers of OSI model, they are again merged, and they are named as network access layer. Now why it is network access layer? Because we all know that within the network means inside our network. Okay, so these two layers, they both were working within the network. So at data link layer, if you remember, we used one device, that is switch. Okay, so router was working on internet protocol, it can understand IP, and switch can understand our MAC address, that is our physical address. Okay, so but this works within the network. Let us suppose this is the router, this is our router. Okay, and router is connected to different other networks. Okay, this is, let us suppose this is IIT Roorkee network, IIT Delhi network. Okay, uh, or IIM Kashipur network. So these are the networks. So, and this is graphic era university network, a router. Okay, now from this router we'll be having a switch. Okay, and this will be switch, and switch will be having many ports, 48 ports, 64, 32 port, 24 port switch. Okay, whatever we are using. Okay, so from these switches, router is connected to this switch, and the other ports, they are again connected to different switches. So let us suppose this switch is your MBA department switch. Okay, this one is your computer science department, and in the same way we have mechanical engineering. So now from this switch again, it will be having, let us suppose, 64 ports. So from these 64 ports, systems are connected. Okay, in the same way, computer science department, their systems are also connected from these ports. Now if you see that this area, reddish area, this is the network of graphic era university. Okay, so when we are dealing within our network, in that case we'll be requiring a switch, isn't it? Okay, but when we are dealing outside the network, then we'll be requiring a router to go outside our network. This is internet. This is internet. Oh, just a minute. Okay, so data link layer, where we were using switch, and the physical layer, which is we discussed about the bit representation and all, synchronization, all flow control and all. So these things, they were taken care within the network. Okay, so all these things, the functionalities of all these two layers, data link and physical, so it is within the network, inside the network, within the network. Okay, so within the network, if I have to access some system, so from this switch it will go to management switch. Let us suppose I want to access this system. So MAC address of this system, this switch knows all the MAC addresses connected to the switch. Okay, all the system, all systems have their physical address, that is MAC address, and that is permanent. We cannot change MAC address. Okay, so if we want to access this system, let us suppose, so what will happen? From this switch it will go to this switch. From this switch again it will see the MAC address, which system with the MAC address connected to the switch, let us suppose this one. So now in this way we will access this system. If we have to access this system, this computer, this node, so it will go from this port of switch one, and it will come here, okay, to the CS department switch, and from here it will see which port is connected to this MAC address, and now we can access this system. So within the network we are accessing. So to access within the network, that is why it is known as network access layer. Okay, so these two layers, so they are combined and become network access layer in TCP IP model. Okay, so TCP IP model, okay, it is developed by Department of Defense. Okay, and it is we have reduced the number of layers here in OSI model. This is your OSI model. We had 7 layers, but in TCP/IP model we have only 4 layers, which are the combination of different layers of the OSI model and combining the functionalities as well. Okay, so it doesn't mean that these are new layers, although they are new layer, but functionalities will remain same. Means all the functionalities of these 3 layers, okay, they are encapsulated or they are integrated, or they all the functionalities of these 3 layers will be performed by this process application layer. Okay, so this is about TCP/IP model. Okay, and see, these are the protocols. These are the protocols which are used at different uh, layer of this TCP/IP model. Okay, so go through this video, and in the next section we will discuss these protocols, what they do actually. Okay, we'll describe these protocols, but before going through TCP model, uh, revise OSI model first. Okay, so in the previous video you all must be having. Okay, I've uploaded on Moodle as well. Okay, so through Moodle, go through this OSI model, see the functionality of each and every layer. Okay, then it will be easier for you to understand the TCP/IP model.